listening to Your Secret is Safe with Me, non-judgmental talk about infidelity with Dr. Marie Murphy. If you're looking for new perspectives on complicated relationship issues, you've come to the right place.
Days go by, they're crawling by.
Hey everyone, I am Dr. Marie Murphy. I'm a relationship coach and I help people who are engaging in anything they think counts as infidelity to deal with their feelings, clarify what they want, and make decisions about what they're going to do. No shame, no blame, no judgments. If you would like my help sorting out your infidelity situation, you can schedule an introductory coaching session with me through my website, mariemurphyphd.com. Can't wait to meet you. Okay, today we are going to talk about the point of resolving your infidelity situation, or why it's worth it to decide what you want to do about your infidelity situation and then actually do that. Before I go any further, I want to make it absolutely clear that when I talk about resolving, quote unquote, your infidelity situation, I don't have a particular agenda for what that should look like for you. There are, of course, people out there who will tell you that resolving your infidelity situation means that you stop cheating or you stop being party to someone else's infidelity or you stop doing whatever the supposedly bad thing you're doing is, right? And often, in addition to that, the implicit assumption is that if you are married or the person you are involved with is married, the best case scenario is that the married person ends their affair or quits their extracurricular activities and recommits to their marriage and confesses what they've done to their spouse and repents what they've done forever, right? That is implicit in a lot of discussions about and perspectives on what you should do if you are in the midst of an infidelity situation. But dear listeners, if you have been listening to this podcast for a while, it will not surprise you to hear me say that that is not my perspective. There are many ways to resolve an infidelity situation. And of course, there are many different kinds of infidelity situations. So the examples of how you could resolve yours that I'm about to give may not be applicable to you, but then again, they may. Let's just say you're in a committed relationship that's supposed to be monogamous and you're involved with someone else or maybe multiple other people. You could resolve your situation by deciding that you do not want to be with anyone other than your primary partner. You could end your affair or whatever you're doing on the side, and you could decide whether you want to tell your primary partner about what you've been up to or not. That's an option. Or you might choose to end your primary relationship so that that relationship is over and you're no longer effectively cheating and you're free to essentially do whatever you want. Or you might choose to resolve your infidelity situation by choosing to keep cheating and choosing to make peace with that rather than allowing yourself to get super stressed out about what you're doing and get stuck in endless thought loops that leave you feeling guilty and paralyzed, right? Plenty of people decide that that strategy, the strategy of cheating to stay married, as some people call it, has benefits that are totally worth the drawbacks. But if you choose that option, you will probably have to get really good at managing your mind and relating to your emotions in a productive way. Or yet another option for resolving your infidelity situation could be to go to your primary partner and say, hey, I really like you and I really want us to stay together, but I don't want to be monogamous anymore. Are you willing to explore that option with me? It is also entirely possible that you are so tired of the effort that goes into maintaining your infidelity situation that you are ready to renounce sex and love and romance for a while. So you decide to put a conclusion on to resolve your infidelity situation by ending all of the relationships you're currently engaged in so that you can have the experience of being completely unattached for a while. The point here is that there are many ways in which you might find a resolution to your current infidelity situation if you in fact want a resolution to your situation. Now, here's the very important thing. A lot of people profess to want solutions or profess to want resolutions to their infidelity situation. They know they don't like their current state of affairs, so to speak, and they know they want change. They know they want their life to be different from how it currently is. They know they don't want to keep their romantic situation or their romantic debacle, we might say, their romantic conundrum, going in the way that it's been going. But they also don't really want to have to do anything in order to create change. They don't want to have to actually do anything that would require effort on their part or discomfort on their part. In essence, they just want the whole thing to be magically fixed. And this may be true even if, or especially if, they don't exactly know what it would mean for their situation to be quote unquote fixed. And let me tell you, I am totally sympathetic to this. There have been many times in my life when I have wished that a magical fairy would just come along and make things better. And furthermore, there have been many times in my life when that was essentially my strategy for making change or not making change, waiting for the magical fairy to arrive. So if this is what you're hoping will happen for you, or if this is the quote unquote strategy you've been employing to deal with your love life right now, I get it. But I am also going to tell you in no uncertain terms that if you truly want change, you have to make it. The magical fairy is not coming. Sorry. And also not sorry. Even if the magical fairy isn't coming, that isn't a bad thing. It is far more satisfying to be your own magical fairy, to learn how to be your own magical fairy and then be it, or your own magical wizard or sorcerer or alchemist, or however you like to think about it, right? You may have to learn how to think about your situation and about yourself and about your life as a whole in a totally new way. But there are people out there who can help you do that. And I am one of those people. I can help you become your own magical fairy. So often we just want someone to tell us what we should do because we don't think we can figure it out for ourselves. But would you really want that in the end? Would you really want someone to tell you what to do, or would you prefer to have the satisfaction of having figured out what you want for yourself and going through the process of turning your uncertainty into certainty? Doing that might sound daunting, turning uncertainty into certainty, that is. And it does take effort and willingness to grapple with whatever may seem unknown to you or uncertain to you right now. But the reward of being willing to do this is that you get to live your life in a way that's truly right for you. And you get to feel like you have mastery over your life. To be willing to do this, to be willing to determine your own answers instead of wanting someone to tell you what you should do or waiting for the magical fairy to come along and fix everything. It helps to have a very clear understanding of what you stand to gain from being willing to step up and make the effort that goes into taking responsibility for resolving your infidelity situation. And this understanding of what you stand to gain is what a lot of people are missing. A lot of people do not have a clear sense of what they could gain from resolving their infidelity situation. They don't have a clear sense of the benefits they would derive from being willing to, take the steering wheel and intentionally resolve their situation. Or put differently, they lack a clear sense of why making change instead of staying in the status quo is worth the effort. And when you don't have a clear sense of why making change would be worth the effort, you are unlikely to make the effort to try, or you're unlikely to see the whole project through, right? A lot of people believe that resolving their infidelity situation is going to be hard. And for starters, some people often think that they don't know what they want. And that may seem like an intractable problem in and of itself. And I assure you that it is not actually an intractable problem. But if you think it is one, it will be so. And thus it will seem really impossible to deal with. It'll just seem true that your situation is hard. And then, of course, other people do know what they want, but they don't believe they can have it, or they're afraid of what might happen if they got it. Some people really don't want to disrupt the status quo. They may not like the drawbacks of their current situation, but they do like the benefits. They may be uncomfortable in some ways, but they're also pretty comfortable in others. And when you're in that kind of spot, or any of the kinds of spots I've just described, it may seem completely unappealing to take on the task of grappling with the challenges that you imagine will come with making any kinds of change, right? So why would it be worth it to try to decide what you want and consider that it might not be impossible to figure out what you want, and it might not be impossible to have what you want? What might you stand to gain from taking this perspective? Now, I do want to point out, in relation to the things I just said, that sometimes making change really isn't all that awful. It really isn't as hard as we think it's going to be. Sometimes we get started doing something that we thought was going to be such an ordeal, and we realize it's not actually that bad. And more importantly, though, we get to determine what our experience of making change is like. We get to learn how to relate to our emotions in an effective way, and we get to learn how to manage our minds and our thinking. And when we can do these things, we can move through challenging experiences without making a whole lot of unnecessary suffering for ourselves in the process. It's really important to know how to do this. It's really important to know this is possible. It's really important to know that experiences we fear are going to be totally fucking awful do not have to be that way. And that's because we can learn how to navigate our lives differently. And learning how to do this, learning how to navigate challenges or perceived challenges with greater fortitude and greater ease is one of the tremendous benefits of working with a coach. This is true of dealing with an infidelity situation. This is true of reaching any kind of goal you want to reach. This is true of making any kind of change that you want to change, making any kind of change that you want to make, right? Having someone who can guide you through the process can help you get through it and get to what you want with a whole lot less suffering and a whole lot more ease and efficiency. Now, all of that said, making changes in your infidelity situation may well be challenging, even when you have the best coach. On the one hand, I see people getting consumed by their fears of how bad it will be to make changes. And I don't want anyone to get sucked into that particular black hole of useless thinking. But I'm also not trying to tell you that dealing with your infidelity situation won't involve any discomfort. It probably will, but you can handle that. You can learn how to handle that discomfort more skillfully. And to the point of today's episode, if you know why you want to make change, it will be much easier for you to see that it's worth it to experience whatever discomfort comes with making changes. And that's why it is so, so, so important to get clear on what you will get out of resolving your infidelity situation. If you don't know why you want to live differently than the way you're currently living, you may not be able to summon the courage that making change can sometimes take, right? You may not even see the point in bothering to try to make change. So, why would you want to resolve your infidelity situation? I want to suggest that the general answer that applies to everybody is very simple. It's so that you can live more of the life you want to live. It's so that you can have more of the experiences in your life that you most want to have. And that can mean or include a lot of things. In general, resolving an infidelity situation requires you to be faithful to yourself. It requires you to name and claim your own desires. It may require you to prioritize your desires over other people's desires. And doing that is a tremendous act of fidelity to yourself. Now, for those of you who are listening to me say that and thinking, but that's selfish, please go back and find the episode called What Does It Mean to Be Selfish, which came out in January of this year, which is January of 2022. I fully understand that selfishness, or being considered selfish, is a big concern for a lot of people. So listen to that episode if it's a concern for you. For today's purposes, I'll just say that when we try to please everybody, we often end up pleasing no one, and it's our relationship with ourselves that we damage the most in the process. I want to suggest that there is a tremendous relief to be found in allowing ourselves to be faithful to ourselves first. And that's a general, broad-reaching benefit that will impact every area of your life. If you are willing to take responsibility for deciding what you want to do about your infidelity situation and then doing it, you will claim your power to be faithful to yourself. You will claim your power to self-determine. And that's something that no one else can give you. You have to claim those things for yourself. Another reason why some people want to resolve their infidelity situations is that they're just so tired of lying and deceiving and all of the effort that goes into maintaining the infidelity situation, the double life situation. Some people decide that they want to resolve their infidelity situation because they realize they just don't want to be in more than one relationship at a time or have more than one partner at a time. And the pull to simplicity can be really powerful for a lot of folks. And you may find that this is the case for you too. Simplifying our lives can be a powerful motivation for us to change. Infidelity situations can certainly have their benefits, but they can also be very complex and difficult to juggle. And that may be a drawback that sucks up significant amounts of your time and energy and focus and bandwidth. And you may get to the point where you really want to reclaim all of that time and energy and focus so that you can direct it to other important things, like having a really satisfying love life instead of having a really complicated love life, like being able to be more present in your other relationships instead of being constantly consumed by your infidelity drama, like being able to be more engaged in your work or more engaged in whatever you spend the bulk of your productive or creative time doing, like being able to take on new challenges or do things that you know you really want to do, but may have been avoiding for a while. Infidelity situations can seem so high stakes and life defining. And, to an extent, they can be. There may be very important things within your infidelity situation. But I want to suggest that that is a reason to resolve your infidelity situation and to do so efficiently rather than a reason to perpetuate the drama and the indecision and the paralysis. Sometimes we, consciously or unconsciously, use the drama of an infidelity situation as a way to distract ourselves from other important matters in our lives. And I have a whole podcast episode dedicated to that topic too. I think it's called Drama, Distraction, and Infidelity. Sometimes it's a lot easier to stay stuck in the vortex of infidelity drama than to make decisions about what you really want to do in your love life, or to seriously consider changing careers, or making amends with your mother, or starting to write that novel you know you have within you but are terrified to start, or finishing that novel that you've started but are terrified to finish. Sometimes we use our infidelity stuff to distract us from really big things that we may really want to tackle in our lives but are too scared to take on. But at some point, the payoff to facing up to whatever you're trying to distract yourself from may be far greater than avoiding it. Sure, it can be terrifying to sit down and write your novel. Sure, it may be terrifying to contemplate leaving a career you've invested many years into and to contemplate starting over from scratch. Sure, it can be terrifying to make a decision about what you want to do about your love life. And for a while, it may be helpful in a way to have a very intense, all consuming, seemingly very high stakes infidelity situation to help you avoid taking on these kinds of challenges. But that might not be great forever. At some point, you may prefer to take these challenges up than to avoid them. And you may need to simplify your life in order to do that. And that may include resolving your infidelity situation. Put a little differently, is it your mission in life to stay in infidelity drama and stress and uncertainty indefinitely? Is that how you want to spend your time? Or is it your mission in life to become a stand-up comic or a doctor or an environmental scientist or a parent or a politician or simply a better friend or someone who is more present for their friendships and not obsessed about their own life all the time? If you love the drama of your infidelity situation, by all means, keep it going. If you like it, I am not going to try to take it away from you. We all get to pick our poison. Sometimes a little drama is kind of exactly what we need. But if there are other things you want to do in your life, other things that are important to you, the point of resolving your infidelity situation in a way that's satisfactory to you may be to free up your time and energy and focus to be able to do those other things and do them well. Sometimes my clients tell me that they feel kind of pathetic or self-indulgent for talking with me and for focusing on themselves and their own quote unquote problems so much. And here's what I say to that. When we clean up our own messes, we are better able to live out the fullest expression of our lives. We're better able to make use of our time in this incarnation. Why wouldn't that be worth investing some time and energy into? Why wouldn't it be worth investing in time and energy into cleaning up your messes so that you can live more fully? Aren't the returns on that investment tremendous? I think they are. Now, in conclusion, let me just say that when I, just talked about cleaning up our own messes, I'm using the word mess lightly. None of us are a mess, or we're all messes. We're all just humans navigating the experience of being human as best as we can. In more neutral terms, we could put my comment about cleaning up our own messes this way. When we can get unstuck in our lives, we no longer have to concentrate our energy on the problem of being stuck. We can focus our energy on other things. But in order to do that, you've got to be willing to get unstuck. And having a clear reason why it's worth it to get unstuck, to do the work that may be required to get unstuck, will help you create that willingness. All right, good people. Thank you for listening. If you want my help applying the concepts that I talk about on this podcast to your own life, let's work together. Listening to podcasts or consuming any other resources that you find helpful can be great. But actively integrating what you've learned into your own life is a whole different kettle of fish. And that's why it can be so helpful to work with a coach. There are so many things out there that we hear and we like the sound of and we want to put into practice. But sometimes we just don't know how to do it, even though we really want to do it. And that's when it's so helpful to have a coach in your corner who can guide you and help you effectively put new things into practice and make the changes you desire. So if you want to work with me, the first step is to schedule an introductory coaching session with me through my website, mariemurphyphd.com. I offer confidential, compassionate sessions via Zoom, which means we can work together no matter where you're located. I can't wait to meet you. Okay, everybody, have a great week. Thank you again for listening. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Your Secret is Safe with Me with Dr. Marie Murphy. Make sure to click subscribe to get updates on our latest episodes.